Hey everyone, I hope my screen is visible and I'm audible. I'm audible now and my screen is visible. Can anyone please let me know? Fine, great, thanks. So shall we wait for a while or shall we start? I guess we will wait for 5 minutes. Okay, then we are going to start the session. Okay, fine. Meanwhile, we can discuss about anything if you guys want to have any sort of discussion. Okay. So my prime agenda to start in this particular uh, medium is to engage and have a community so that we can discuss about sports science and analytics. Okay, so that is the prime agenda in which we will be discussing about different perspective of sports science and analytics. Fine. So first of all, we will start with what is sports science and how the things are. Okay. So what should be there and all those things. And hence, fourth, as we progress later on, we will discuss about each and every verticals and dimensions. Fine. And then going forward, again, there are different topics are there. Okay. So I will try to make it much more interactive and we will have a certain good sort of discussions and all. So I will request everyone, okay, so kindly it has to be in the nature of dialogue, fine, so that we can discuss anything with respect to sports and anything, okay. So keeping that in mind, fine, so we can have a discussion about all those things. Fine. So I guess we will wait for a couple of more minutes or 5 minutes or something about that. Then we will start the things. Meanwhile, if anyone is having any things to discuss or they want to say something or something about themselves, what they are doing as of now, so we can have a discussion. So I will start from my end. Okay. So right now I'm working as a project manager. Okay, so in IIT Madras, so in which I am dealing with different sort of sports science and analytics perspective. Okay, so that is one thing. Apart from that, I have experience in dealing with data and all those things. Fine. And with respect to majorly sports, so I will try to make it much more. We will discuss about much more things. Okay, keeping the point of performance. Then apart from that, rehabilitation or training or anything, and I will welcome anyone fine if they want to have a certain sort of presentations or anything from their perspective, so we will have that thing also. Fine, so let's say it's just a start and later on we can see how the things are on that. Fine, so something is better than nothing, I believe. So what made me do all those things was I was a part of community in data science. Okay, so they are having a certain sort of groups and all those things, there are so many. If you see in a data science perspective or any tech point of view, that was majorly lacking, fine, in this particular area. So I thought, why not to start with all those things and see the education or something about sharing is something we are going to get something more. So that's the story from my point of view. If anyone want to say anything, so they can say, or they are most welcome. Okay, fine. Uh, And I will request everyone, okay, so it has to be the nature of dialogue and all those things so that it is much more interactive. Fine. So I will mute for a while. We'll start in a couple of minutes, okay? We'll wait for much more people to join in case they want to join. So anyone want to say anything about anything, what they are doing right now? What is the experience about sports science or analytics, anything? So, yeah, Gaurav. So Gaurav is trying to say something.
Yeah, thanks, Swetang. Hello everyone. First of all, thank you so much for starting this. I guess this would help me personally a lot because I've just started my career into sports analytics. To talk about myself, I'm Gaurav Shinkar, and currently I'm working as an data analyst with uh, which is Reliance Foundation. Previously, I have background of IT, like have worked as a data analyst in IT for 3 years, but I've just switched into sports. So, yeah, that's all about myself, and looking forward to learn a lot of things from you and everyone over here. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Gaurav. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to say anything? And then I guess we should start, okay? So I will try to make it a bit of short only, around 30 minutes or 25 minutes of this particular presentation. And then again, we can have a discussion about the things.
Hi Shweta, it's me
Yeah.
Akash. Right now I'm kind of busy, so I'm not in the video. Okay, so I just want to know that since the Slack thing is not working, so
Mhm.
what other platform are we going to go where we can have a group sort of a discussion?
I will try to look upon something better on that. Fine. So I will email everyone how we can do that. Fine.
Okay, and one more thing, I just wanted to say, should I say? Okay, fine, I'll say it anyway. The thing is, I have also created a small group, okay, of sports science in Telegram, okay. So should I give that link or should I keep it separately?
That's
Oh, who
all
are
up.
interested?
That's all up to you. Okay. So okay. So this is the particular medium I want to engage people and make and build a community in the sports science. Fine. So
Okay,
that's all up to you. Nothing as such
and
that is mine. So it has to be for everyone. Fine. So that's why.
okay, okay.
Fine. So let's start this discussion. Okay. So first of all, sports weekly. So let's see. So whenever you guys are dealing with certain things in the sports, fine. So there will be things like you will be doing a medical point of view, things like a sports medicine or physical therapy or beat anything on that scale. Fine. So that is one aspect. Apart from that, when we say about sports and science and analytics. So we will have two sorts of questions over here. Fine, if we can read, how does the sports science and analytics work? Okay, so that is one of the questions. That is, I believe, one thing. Fine, so that is one question that we will think of. Fine, and another question is that how could the sports science and analytics work? So from your point of view or the viewer's point of view, which is much more important questions over here? I guess second questions will be having a much more importance, fine. Because if we understand how the things are working, then we can able to relate and understand how the things will going to work with an athlete or coach. Fine. So whenever we say sports science and analytics, there will be so many things. Fine. It has so many departments and dimensions that we want to work together in a cohesive way. So we need to create a certain sort of processes and policies to make all these things work together. Fine. So suppose, for example, if someone is having any sort of performance training or injury point of view, and if we think about that it is an individual approach, fine. I think that that's why we are missing something on that. Maybe I may be wrong on that, but perhaps we need to think upon how the things are on that. So second question is much more important. Fine. That for example, if you want to understand how the sports science analytics are working, we need to have a certain sort of creativity, imagination. We need to do certain sort of hypothesis to understand how this processes, all things are working, so that we can able to understand that thing and then we can apply. Application part is much more important, but also we need to understand the concept, how the things are working. So that's why this all two questions were over here. Fine. It's like similar things. If we, there could be any sort of metaphor and all those things on that. Fine. So when we say sports science, it is of two words. Fine. So science is something we are trying to have a certain logical processes, systemic methods, or certain sort of hypothesis, understanding, testable or knowledge or experiment or anything beyond that part. And when we say science and when we say sports, it is application of science in that. Fine, is a simple meaning of that, so that we can able to understand how a human body is working and how the things are on that for the performance monitoring or injury minimization or overall we can say optimization of an athlete, fine, in a data driven approach. Now here is one sort of things, so I don't know how many of you are practicing in this all things, fine. So do you guys really know that how much important is data, or do you believe in this whole concept of data driven approach? Okay, that is one question. I think we need to introspect on that, that decision making should be on that way rather than on an intuitive way or gut feeling. Fine. Some things I'm feeling this is correct, that doesn't mean it is correct. We need to have a certain sort of logical reasoning or rationality behind it. Fine. So that's why, so you can see over here, I've written the thing that it's application of scientific theories so that we can able to do certain sort of inquiry with respect to human performance or sporting competition, be it anything on that. Fine. So this is one of the things like sports science. Fine. So everyone wants to win right now, but science is slow, isn't it? We want to fix this, fix anything. Suppose I was working as a physio. If any coaches are coming to me, so or an athlete is coming to us to have any sort of treatment, they want to get relief of pain now only. But the physiology is quite different in nature, isn't it? So that's why it is a paradox. Fine. So we want the things now. Everything is like everything, be it any sports science or be it anything. We want success now. It's not about how the process is. The process of application of all those things is something much more complex in nature when we are talking about human body because of the involvement of so many data points. Fine. So data could be in the nature of any form. Fine. So when I will be discussing about a sports data later on some time, then we will have a discussion on that. What are the types of data in the sports or in human body performance? Fine. So that is how the things are. Fine. Winning is now and science is slow. Fine. So that we need to understand and we need to make people understand that science is slow. Fine. But again, it is quite difficult to make people understand about that thing. So that's why sports science is one of the difficult aspect. That's why people are not going to believe, because suppose competition is after 2 weeks or 1 month or 2 months, but the process of adaptation is quite complex. Fine. And there will be a small change. A small change is going to cause so many different uh, reactions or different situation in our body. Okay, fine. So that's what we need to understand, and because the outcomes are so much in the sports, so that's why we want, or be it any field. Okay, the outcomes of success is too good, but the process of application is quite complex. Fine. So that is same applicable to the sports science. So whenever we are talking about a sports science, there is a certain sort of methodology we are talking about. So how we want to do it. Fine. So in a sports science, I am trying to focus in each and every department. As we go further, we will see. Fine. So first of all, whenever we try to do anything with a data-driven approach, so first of all, we need to understand what is the performance problem. Fine. Apart from that, what are the performance needs are there? What are the gaps are there? So this all thing is going to come under a umbrella term like a need analysis, something we say in the strength and conditioning world. Fine. So it's like a gap analysis we are talking about. Someone is having some sort of issue. We need to understand how to figure it out, and later on we need to fix all those things. Then going forward, we need to understand and do certain sort of hypothesis. A to B testing also, we know that is also known as A to B testing. Or again, there will be certain sort of experiment. Experiment will be in the nature of lab-based testing, field-based testing, and then there will be so many independent variables, dependent and control variables. This all variables, as we go further, we will discuss. This is just a gist of how the things will be. Fine. Then again, after that, we are going to analyze. We will see how the things are integration, empirical things, theories, and all those things. Then again, we're going to modify our hypothesis. So it's like a loop system. It's like a vicious cycles we are talking about. Sometimes we will try to do the things from the scratch, and again the things will be quite difficult in nature. Fine. And again, it's like a one of the hard work. Fine, we are saying, because the outcome is so slow, as we know, and the expectations from the coaches or the third parties, be it anyone, like admin, like a director of any clinic or something, they want a business from certain point of view, so they will not going to understand how the process are. Fine. Suppose a guy is coming for certain sort of testing, and they will tell you do all the testing, irrespective of what is the sports or what is the demand of that particular sports. Fine. So keeping all this thing in mind, we need to understand how the things are. Now, another component is interpretation of all these results and how we can implement it. So interpretation of this all results should be, when we are talking about sports science, it has to be in a cohesive in nature, like connecting the dots from each and every department, fine, to have one sort of cumulative report. Fine. Generally, we try to look upon the things from our own perspective. Like I am a physio, I will look upon this data. I am a diet point of the things. I will look upon this. I am a training guy. I am going to do training and all those things. I am going to look upon those component only. But at the end, it's a centric approach. Fine. So we all are together working for an athlete, and generally we will have an ego or something or some sort of thing that why we want to ask someone or something, be it anything. Fine. So if you're not discussing the things, we are just guessing about it. Fine, that is also one component. And apart from that, we need to understand that it is a cohesive thing we are talking about. And if we discuss the things with our colleagues or someone, fine, so we are going to gain something over there, nothing to be lost over there, anything. Fine. So we need to understand all those things, and interpretation should be in the nature of connecting the dots, what I believe personally, and it is all about sports science we are talking about. Fine. Suppose, for example, if an hamstring injury is there, for example, anyone is having, fine, it's a neuromuscular control is down, for example, it is going to reflect two component, like a plyometrics we are talking about of flexibility. Fine. And how the things are matching with the any sort of diet plan or training, anything. So we need to understand all these gaps to be a better analyst or sports science guy. Now, again, the problem right now, what I see is that lack of literature. Fine. Again, literature are so many is there. Okay, there are so many journals and all those things. Literature are there, but again, sometimes we won't be able to find a certain sort of literature to back it, whatever we are thinking of. So here comes a two approach: evidence-based knowledge, as we are aware of everything about literature and all those things. Another component is practice-based evidence. Fine. So whenever practice-based evidence is that we will do certain things, we will try to experiment, we will do certain things, we'll try to document all those things. Later on, we are going to do a certain sort of research on that. So that is how the things are. Sometimes practice-based evidence, something is about evidence-based practice or knowledge. So one thing is control. We know everything about that, EBP model. And PBE model is something that is unstructured. Fine. It's like a reverse engineering we are talking about. Fine. So this is how the things are on that scale in when we were talking about the performance-based, in fact, practice-based evidence. So again, if we say high performance unit, as I was making a certain sort of discussion topics, I thought of putting these things also. So high performance unit is something that team behind a team. Fine. It is an interdisciplinary team that in which we will have different disciplines. We will work together, and we will try to work for an athlete. Sole purpose to work for them, so that the performance or injury or all the things will be minimal. So as we know, there will be sports coach, strength and conditioning professional, doctor, physical therapist, trainers, then nutrition guy or psychologist or biomechanics. So be it anything on that. Fine. So the things will be on the field-based testing, lab-based testing. We will be having so many of technologies, but the sole purpose is to have a and informed planning and decision making on that. So this is one thing. Okay, sports science point of view things, sports scientists, we need to think different. Okay, I want to work with a new sports technology rather than I love this sports, this is good, I love cricket, I love football, whatever, fine. But if we understand how this process, how the physics is applicable on that thing, fine, how the things are in the small things are changing, if and how the data are playing role together, what is the causation of all those things, we need to change the questions, we need to change our perception to ask question how the things are, rather than be on a same sort of model that this is good game, this is bad game. Sometimes we will have a certain sort of orthodox nature, fine, because of the, I guess, whatever things we are looking upon or having a feeling on that, fine, I might be wrong on that. But whenever we are talking about this, so I want to work with new sports technology. Fine. See, again, sports technology, certain things. Okay, I will have a certain again discuss on that later on. Fine. Uh, Again, we need to look upon the data from each and every verticals. Fine. And we need to understand how these things are intersecting each other, or what is the causation or association and all those things. So there will be certain things on training department, medical department, as we discussed, biomechanics, nutrition, EPN, exercise physiology, psychology. But the sole purpose is to work together. Fine. So this is about the sports science. So we need to understand all these things in this. So this was a small presentation I made about how the things are. Fine. So what is sports science and how the things will be. Fine. So I will have not a lengthy conversation, anything. Okay, it will be around half an hour, 40 minutes weekly or something on that, so that everyone is free on that. So there's one famous quote that what I read was, when we start any sort of problem, we think this is a problem, but when we start working on that, that problem is going to change a lot with time. Fine. So that this is about all those things. So we can discuss the things. So that right now, fine. Thank you so much for your time. Anyone is having any sort of queries or discussions so they want to discuss upon?
Vedant?
Hello?
Hello, Swetank, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Akash this side.
Yeah, Akash.
I have it's a great presentation. I'm really, it's a good effort you put out, and especially for like working towards free education, because I've seen so many presentations which are not very neat and tidy, but you put a great presentation. I just have one question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
In your third slide, you mentioned something about needs analysis in terms of SNC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not from SNC background, and nor I have a great knowledge about data analysis. Can you like explain something on that topic? What do you actually meant?
So basically, so need analysis, basically we will look upon the KPIs, and KPIs are basically key performance indicators. Fine. So each and every department will have a certain sort of key performance indicators with respect to the sports. So it has to be in a nature of sport specific. Fine. So if someone is a sprinter, and so if someone is in a table tennis or different game, their KPIs will be quite different in nature. Fine. So first of all, we need to understand all these KPIs with respect to all those things, and we will try to make a model on that. And hence, we will again discuss with the coach and other teams about all those things. So what are the specific parameter, what they look upon and think that is important for that particular sports. For example, in the sprinter, anaerobic capacity is much more important, fine, as compared to any other, like a marathon, for example, just for an example. So we need to jot it down all those things in a section by section manner, and then we need to do a certain sort of lab testing. But lab testing has to be the nature of, or field testing has to be the nature of the particular sports. Fine. So particular sports will going to have a certain sort of replication when we are doing any sort of testing. If those testing not going to replicate certain sort of behavior in a biomechanical model, then the testing will be a certain sort of bias. Fine. So most of the testing are like what we think is correct, but actually that we need to formulate all those things in a step-by-step manner. So likewise, we need to do a need analysis. So first of all, need is particularly about the specific sports we are talking about. What are the needs or demands of that particular sports in reference to the physiology or training program? And then we will have an understanding of needs. Then we'll have a gaps, and then we will look upon the KPIs. KPIs will again depend upon the dimensions, like which are the components of sports science we are talking about, and then overall we're going to formulate all those things. So again, I will have a one separate presentation for that also later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Shwetang. Thank you for keeping it concise.
Yeah. Anyone else is having any sort of questions or anything? Or want to say anything?
Hello. Hi, Shadang. Ashutosh this side. An amazing presentation, I must say. Actually, I wanted to ask that where we stand right now in terms of data analytics in our country in sports, is it really possible in today to actually predict the injuries or actually analyze the data that we have and put it in some form of algorithm or use machine learning AI and help specifically in rehabilitation, injury prediction, or injury prevention? So, where are we heading right now? Are we utilizing it fully, or we have just started and it's proving some good results?
So sports analytics or data-driven approach again. So prediction is some certain things when we're talking about machine learning, but I would rather say we are much more focusing on descriptive stats and inferential stats. Depending upon the data, we are trying to make certain sort of uh, recommendations and all those things. As of now, fine, across whatever I know till now, fine, across the different places. Regarding the prediction of an injury, it is quite complex in nature. First of all, we need to understand what injuries and what are things we are talking about. Fine. So injuries are quite complex in nature. If someone is saying they are trying to predict injuries, again, I am not going to buy all those things in a simpler form. Fine, because injuries are complex. Traumatic injuries are certain things that is different. We don't know the actual reasons and how the things are. It is certain nature. But I will say we can able to understand a certain aspect of injuries through a load response we are talking about. So injuries basically happens whenever there is a imbalance between the load we are talking about. So load, so overuse injury to some extent we can able to understand the pattern or something like if you're talking about a, tennis elbow, repetitive use of ECRL or ECRB muscles is going to cause the things in inflammation to that particular area. So if you're able to understand and look upon the activities and all those things, then we can able to say to a certain extent, but prediction of an injury is quite complex. Fine, and we need to have a huge amount of database on that and into different categories from anatomical point of view to physiological or biochemistry, then physical therapy, then medicine. So different things are there in that. And I guess, but there are certain literature on that. Fine, like they were doing a certain sort of modeling with the help of machine learning. Different models are there, so they were doing that. But again, limitations are there on that. So in India, sports analytics are right now about fantasy sports prediction because data are quite easily available on that. Then apart from that, looking about the human body performance analysis and descriptive and inferential stats, and I don't think like a predictive modeling anything as such as of now. Thank you.
Okay, fine. That's amazing answer. Actually, it answers.
Shwetank,
Sorry.
yeah,
Oh,
am I audible?
one,
Yeah.
sorry,
Okay,
sorry
continue.
to bother you again. One last question, sir. Actually, I need to ask, can we use this data science for talent identification? If we need to pool some players according to the requirement of a game, and if we conduct a routine checkup or screening in certain area, and then we can identify them and put them into a game. So, can we use it in that sort?
Talent identification is certain different model. Fine. Again, we need to understand different models again on that, like how we are trying to identify talent. Long-term athletic development plan is there, again depending upon that point of view. And also we need to understand from what stage, which sports. There's so many things to answer on that. Fine. So again, we need to look upon the data, testing methods, and so many things are there. So when we are having about a discussion on that topic, then we can have a much more discussion on that. Fine. So it's
Sure.
a large topic to discuss right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Shwetank, huh? So I wanted to ask, as an SNC coach or something like that. So data, usually I see a lot of people these days coaches losing data, especially international coaches where they have a separate strength and conditioning and sports science or the sports analytics team divided. Okay. So basically, I wanted to ask that. Uh, I'm not asking regarding what you call it injury per se, but I want to ask regarding the readiness. Okay, so to judge for the auto regulation of the session. So is it possible, like, because like I've seen people using VBT. Okay, so so day to day change in velocity of bar with certain certain weight, they try to get the auto regulatory data. So do you buy into that or not?
So again, we need to understand the tools, what they're using to capture all this data. Fine. So right now, whatever we see in a sports science world about data, with the help of any sort of technologies, we are generally looking upon the recipe over there, that food that we're going to eat. But how the process is there, that is we need to also understand. And like any BFO, split, VBT, isokinetic, how the concept, how they are building a data from that raw data. If all these processes are fine, then I'm okay to buy all those things. And otherwise, readiness questions are there, subjective questions are there, so many things are there on that. So we can use all those things, fine. But depending upon any tools and technologies, how they are using, fine. That we need to understand. Then we can again discuss. So going forward, I will have certain things on that also, fine. So we'll discuss all those things. It's just a starting of all those things right now, fine. Okay.
So
Yeah,
for the next meeting or somewhat like that, once the group is created, so
I will
you
try to do. I will try to do something on about that group or something.
no
Maybe
no one,
WhatsApp. Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. No,
Mhm.
I'm asking, will you give the topic 1 week beforehand so some of us can
Already
also
I
read
shared
through
all
it a
the
little bit? Okay,
already I
okay.
shared this all these things. 1 month. All these things. What are the topics are there? Already it is in the Slack. Okay.
Slack is not working now.
Fine, fine. I will try to do something on that. Fine. Anyone is else having any sort of queries? I will also try to do something about these videos. Fine. So I will try to put all these things in YouTube or certain things maybe. So that anyone can again go and see the presentation and things if they want to.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Chayan. I wanted to ask that from data analytics point of view, we can do something in case of any HPCs or any premier academies, we can rely on their data. But is there anything, what are your views, whether we can use it from any like local clubs which are not that much, the staffs are not that much educated. So can we use their data or can we encourage them to somehow participate so that we can create a database in India?
This all depends upon the admin over there, how they want to run their academies and all those things. Fine. We can use the data to train our models and all those things. But again, the demographics are quite different. Fine. As we know, we are talking about a human body physiology. So things will be much more different. So that's why we need to start from the scratch over here. Fine. So again, it is a doable task, all those things. But again, you need to have a certain sort of motives and how the things you want to portray to the client.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think it is needed to create a database in at least for India's for creating the norms and all so that we can compare?
Already there are certain norms as per the SAI. Fine. And we need to create all those things so that we can have a certain sort of benchmarking and profiling.
Okay.
Fine.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Fine then, if no one is having any questions, so I will try to make a group, okay? And then we can discuss the things over there if Slack is not working. Fine?
Shwetank, I have a
Okay.
question. This is
Yeah, yeah,
Gaurav here.
yeah.
Yeah, so coming from an IT background, having absolutely no knowledge of like the verticals which you spoke about, right? Nutrition, SNC,
Mhm, mhm.
physio,
Yeah,
psychology.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How important is it to get the basic understanding of how things work in each of the discipline? And
Mhm.
second part of question would be how I can use the resources which are available openly to increase my knowledge. What would be your recommendations to improve on the domain knowledge aspect of the thing? Because uh, coming from an IT background, I have absolutely zero knowledge about these things. So
Okay, fine.
yeah.
So I'm not having a Zoom this meeting, okay? Fine, that pro version. So the meeting is going to over in a minute. Fine. So I will request everyone to rejoin. Then I will answer all these things. Fine. I'm so sorry for that. Okay. So I will
No,
request everyone to rejoin. Fine. Uh,
Send the link, same link, right? It will
same
work,
same
right?
link. Same link. Yeah. So Gaurav is over here.
yeah, I'm
We'll wait for a couple of minutes. Okay. Then I will answer your question.
yeah, sure.
So hi Gaurav. Uh, so I will try to answer your question on that. See, domain knowledge is much more important, be it any domain. Fine. So if you try to work in different sector like banking or different thing, we need to understand financial modeling or be it social media. So we need to understand how the things are working on that domain. In a similar case, we need to have a certain sort of knowledge about how the data are and what is the data mean. Fine. So what is a higher limit, upper limit of that particular data sets and all those things. So we need to understand all those things so that we will have a better understanding regarding informed decision making. Fine. So this is how we can able to comprehend in a much more better way to any clients or stakeholders, anything. Fine. So that's why we need to understand. I'm not saying that we need to thoroughly understand everything, but if you're able to understand the things from us from any given data set, that this is the meaning of this and that and all those things, then in the hypothesis testing and different informed decision making will be in a much more better space. Fine. So again, gathering all this knowledge is one component. Okay, so we can able to gather the knowledge with respect to time. Fine. So knowledge is something that is always going to pop up everywhere. Fine. So it's like a time series involvement. Fine. So we can able to do all those things. So in case I will also try to make certain sort of discussion on each and every verticals. Fine, going forward, and then we can discuss. And I will try to say the books and everything in case if you want to understand how things are on that domain. If this is how I want to portray this answer to you on that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. That would be great. That would help a
Yeah,
lot.
yes. So just a start right now, okay, and going forward, I want to create all those things, a medium, fine. So see, knowledge is something that needs to be shared. So going forward, I will also try to discuss things on machine learning also, supervise and so everything, fine. So that is my thought right now. Let's see how other people are and how this our group is, how much I will try to make justice to your guys' times on that on those things, fine. Okay then. Anyone else is having any queries, anything? No questions, anyone? If not, then we'll wind it up. Okay, then. Fine. Thank you so much for your time. So I will try to create a WhatsApp group. Fine. Then we can have a discuss anything on that. Thank you so much for your effort and time. I hope this all discussion was fruitful to all of you. Fine then.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.